All right, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We have the daily. Let's do a little bit of narrative and try to expose a little bit of these gurus. Couple of these gurus. I'm not gonna give names, maybe. Um, as you can see, we have the daily tapped into an OCL and gave us a bullish breakout. All right. So, okay, if you pay attention, what we have here, we have, oops, we have this trend line here, two anchor points, and so from there we started to see unfold a weekly storyline and a daily storyline. For the weekly storyline, we had another trend line here. Let me just switch to the weekly. Can see we can also see here they tapped into this classic level, but at the same time they came into this level, so it was like um, a bad condition candle. This is how I call it. But then we can see that they came. I mean, they came back here, right, and tapped into another trend line for an advanced storyline. An advanced storyline of this weekly trend line. You can check on your chart. You're gonna see it. It's pretty clear. So from there, let's look on the H4. And some people use the H4 in coordination with the weekly time frame. Now I'm gonna talk about something that I think is quite important. As one trader which has a kind of a good community and who is now associating with his MSNR strategy, the VWAP tools. So I think this is for a reason, right? Because if you pay attention, right, so here we have not only a bullish breakout on the H4, but we also have a bullish shift of structure, right? It's a verified shift of structure that we had here, right? So we close here below this level, we close then back above this level, and this is a significant level. And so from that, the structure is bullish on the H4, right? So we have a couple of arguments for bullishness. Let me show you something. All right, check this out. So we today we had a couple of bullish arguments on our side. The structure was bullish on most of the time frames until the H1. With most recent breakout, we were bullish on almost all time frames. For the storyline, this is where things were a little bit of tricky. But still, we understand that we are surrounded by bullishness. See these little two bearish text boxes, right, from the H4 to the H1 and most likely on the M30. These were surrounded by bullishness. You know what I'm saying? So if we spot some good setup for bullishness, we can anticipate, right? We can anticipate. We can allow to anticipate, and usually this is where we grab the best, like high risk to reward trader. I'm not gonna say these are the best trades because I think this is for another discussion, but we can catch quite high risk to reward trade when we anticipate a change in the storyline while everything surrounding is in a bullish state, right? Or is in a counter directional state. All right, back to the chart and looking at the H4, right? We said that on the H4, on the weekly perspective, we were in a bullish storyline, and if you pay attention now, looking for advanced structures, we have this gap here. So some mentors will be like, we have liquidity here. This is a gap, right? We have liquidity here. Looking for a fresh SNR level, we have this open close here, right? So, and I saw on social media a couple of these mentors posting like you can take a direct entry, go direct entry if you want, or if you want to wait for confirmation. The fact that the fact is that we and I also uh, were bullish, right? And I'm still bullish. I mean, with everything surrounding and etc. I mean, I'm quite bullish on euro, right? Now, here's the thing. So, mentor would be happy to see price reverse of this level. This is where I mark the entry here, the entry level, right? So I selected this level, right, which had a confirmation candle with it. Right. So we had this level, and this for me, right? To be honest, I took a long here on a direct entry perspective. I decided to put the stop loss just below here because at that moment, following again, uh, some SLK, right? Some SLK, right? So some SLK like traders will be like, we have an advanced structure because of the gap here, right? And so, do we have any fresh level? We have this level. This is good for entry. Can take the direct entry with all that is mentioned. Some MSNR mentors will be like waiting for a confirmation in the form of a rejection on the higher time frame. And what do we have here, right? What do we have here, right? I'm asking you. What do we have here, right? See this level with a confirmation. I mean, this is a fresh level, right? This is a fresh level. So off this fresh level, what did we get? We got this rejection, price respecting it on the H4. So I bet you a couple of people were like, here, okay, we have a confirmation, let's enter, right? Let's enter off this straight confirmation, right? We had this confirmation, everything's good, right? See the mistake, right? So there are a couple of factors and a couple of things here that actually were a mistake. Why doing so, right? Waiting for this rejection for me is not enough, even though it was on the higher time frame, right? H4 rejection of this level, showing signs of respect, right? For me, it's not enough. What we need, and let me just talk about some elements against these areas as an area of interest, or this point as a point of interest. All right, so first things first, the freshness of the levels. Okay, and this is what could have been a trap for some people. Right, so if we consider this candle here, this rejection as consuming everything that is on the left, right? If you pay attention, we had the fresh level, and this is not fresh anymore, right? What do we have left? We have this level, right? Is it fresh? Yes, it is fresh, and we can see that price tapped into it and rejected. So it is part of our valid and fresh levels we could have selected, right? So on an H4 perspective, if we look at the range here from this low to this high, the only level we had that was fresh was this, and it's a quite interesting level, right? If you pay attention, right, it is 100% fresh, right? So the apex was quite fresh for us to pay attention to, right? Now this apex was quite far from the above price action. I mean, I don't know how many pips we have. Actually, there's not a lot of pips. Maybe there's less than 10 pips. But anyway, right? If we consider them, if we like use the transfer of money, right? Transfer of money principle, right? We could eventually see them tap into this level, reject, break higher, right? And so for that reason, we saw these valid levels, and we be like, especially if you look on the left, right, we have a balanced price range. You see how many times that they worked through this fair value gap on the left inversion level, creating this fair value gap. So you'll be like, we have a fair value gap here. I mean, they don't need like to break this fair value gap, and this was an additional argument. Like this closure here was an additional argument. See how they respected this balance price range here, right? See how they respected this level, right? So I mean, now we start to think. We start to think if some people, I mean, some MSNR mentors see liquidity below this bearish candle, right? So this is a first argument we can use on the H4, telling us this is a potential objective, right? This is a potential objective, right? Now we had a couple of candidates. We had this apex, we had this liquidity level, right? And we had these fresh SNR levels. Now let's look on the H1. So here's something. I mean, so far I never seen any SLK mentor talk about this, and this is an ICT concept. This is a basic ICT concept, relatively close, right? Relatively close. Um, so again, we had a setup above because of the fair value gap, and some SLK will be like, we have liquidity, we have fresh level, we had the most recent like breakout to the upside. We in a bullish storyline, so we can take the long ride on a direct entry perspective. And again, you can search on the social media, and you will see plenty of SLK mentors like, you can take the direct entry, let's take the direct entry, right? Okay, right, basic ICT principle. You put this aside, you pay the price, you pay the price quite straight after, right? You be like, let's ignore this. And as a matter of fact, I noticed this, right? And there's one pip difference, right? This candle is lower, went lower than this. So me personally, I was like, okay, so there's one pip, so they swept this liquidity, they use this liquidity into whatever level we have a different rebalance or redeliver rebalance. I don't remember exactly. But this is a form of fair value gap. Now, mind you, there's no gap on the lower time frame right here. Still, we have this formation, right? We have this formation, and they quite like to tap multiple times into this type of formation. Right, and this is for me one reason for them to sweep this low and continue higher. So I was like, transfer money, etc., transfer money. We have fresh levels here. You look at this. We also have a gap here. We have twins gap, two consecutive BC to the upside. And so I was like, this is enough. I mean, this is enough. We also have liquidity here, right? With a little pullback. It's not a big pullback. You can consider this as a single push, right? Some people could see this as a single push, but still we can read, we can see here some form of liquidity, adjustment liquidity or whatever. Right, on an eccentric liquidation perspective, there was also the eccentric liquidation perspective on our side here, right? If you use this structure here that holded all of these swing rejections, right? All these swing rejections and then momentum to the upside, breaking this formation. Where's the last where's the last formation that allowed this momentum? Is right here with a double area, right? So we had a double area. This is an A plus. You know what I'm saying, right? So we had couple of reasons to trust this area for a long, right? And this is why I decided to take the direct entry of this area and stop loss below here. Now, one element which was in favor of a, I mean, waiting for a confirmation. We need to wait for a confirmation. It was the relative equals. I don't see anything else, right? I don't see anything else. There was this relative equals. There was also the lack of SNR level on the daily time frame for a classic storyline, right? For a classic storyline, all that we had is an advanced storyline, right? So here we actually hit the daily trend line, right? We hit both the daily trend line and we hit both the weekly trend line, right? For a bullish storyline on the weekly uh, for the weekly time frame, right? So, I mean, see what I'm saying, right? Check the direct entry here. This is something I quite never seen any like SLK mental talk about, right? I saw one talk talk about the structure, and for that reason, I mean, again, some people see the structure like this, right? So that there's a low. Some people see a straight push higher, right? So if you see the structure like I've just mentioned, first you see liquidity here, and for that reason, this is an inducement liquidity. They tap into this, and they can continue higher. This is a setup for, this should allow expansion to the upside. Some people, some SLK mentor would be like, look, there is the all the structure that we have here is something like this, right? Something like this, and so for that reason, their attention will be focused on what's below here, right? What is located below here. If you pay attention, another thing that is noticeable on the H1 is the trend line that we had here, right? We had the trend line of liquidity there, right? There's liquidity below this low, there's liquidity here, there's liquidity here. All of this is forming a trend line, right? So these in particular, despite the fact that this candle here swept this formation, I mean, we still can see relative equal lows here, and in our case, not only relative equal lows, but lows with liquidity below them, right? And so for that reason, the direct entry of this formation or any of these is a quite bad idea, and can check on the social media unless they remove their posts. A lot of mentors were like, you can't take the direct entry, we are bullish, we shifted to the upside, right? Shifted. Let's look at this H4 bullish shift. All right, so let's pay attention, brother. Pay attention on an eccentric, and this is in favor of the bullish narrative. On an eccentric liquidation perspective, right? So here we have a pure formation. We have a pure formation. The thing is, it's a pure with imbalance breakout, right? So we have this imbalance breakout. Now pay attention. Price came back into this imbalance, thus consuming this whole single area. This is a single area. So for that reason, we could consider this pure formation as not capable of promoting bearishness anymore, right? And so this is in favor of the bullish narrative. The moment we saw the shift here, the shift in itself didn't tap into any significant formation for it to be maybe considered as a fake shift, right? As a fake shift. Now pay attention. Let me show you the line chart actually. We had the breakout above this formation, we had the breakout above this formation, right? So this it's a breakout type 2 here, and this is a breakout type 1, right? Now, still, we have two breakouts. We only had one breakout type 1, so we could eventually be like, okay, no double breakout type 1. So this is still potentially a grab of liquidity, right? A grab of liquidity. Because of what? Because they only broke above one classic level, external classic level. This is an internal breakout, external breakout, right? External, right? And this one is internal to this range here, right? So, I mean, the shift here was quite beautiful, especially with the momentum that we had here. And especially as understanding that this formation was already used. You know what I'm saying, right? It was already used. Now we still had a fresh level, and this fresh level plus the liquidity sitting below here, plus the red folder, news coming. So you see, as I'm looking at it, there's one thing that is potentially missing is the SNR level for the classic storyline, both on the weekly time frame and on the daily time frame, right? All that we had, right? Actually, all that we had is again we had a quite decent. We had a quite decent breakout to the upside, right? Decent breakout right here, right? So from there we pulled out this trend line, right? But here we don't have any conversions with the actual daily SNR level, and look at how they came below here with such an aggressiveness. Um, Lack of daily SNR level for classic storyline of this area here right here, a lack of class, I mean, SNR level for a classic storyline on the weekly time frame also, right? All that we had on the weekly time frame is currently actually we can see that we had this classic level, right? This classic level, but this will mean, and actually we had, I think that we had a bullish breakout, but I'm not sure it happened above this level. Let's just check quickly. Oh, actually it did. Actually, we did have, but as a matter of fact, classic bullish storyline would happen after the break above this level, right? So we start seeing a couple of confirmations, right? We only had one type 1 breakout here, right? This level would have been better for a like a good bullish signal on the for the weekly storyline, right? For the weekly storyline, right? Um, so yeah, we can get couple of lessons from this, right? We need not only to we can trust trend line, but uh, SNR level are better, right? In case we had a breakout form and the direction of a trend line, we need to use confirmation. This could be a good mechanical way to see things, right? If we had a breakout of a trend line, we need confirmation. If we see ICT relative equal lows below our level, we need confirmation. And this is it, bro. Hopefully this was interesting. See you later, brother. Peace.